Good day, folks. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a set of ND filters for the Mavic Mini. These are by Freewell Gear. Freewell makes a lot of different ND filters for many different types of drones and action cameras. In this video, we're going to talk about why and when you would want to use ND filters. We're also going to take a look at whether these ND filters are going to make your Mavic Mini weigh more than 249 grams. They're pretty small and they don't weigh a lot, but it might be enough to put it over that mark. After that, we'll take it for a test flight to see how well they perform. So let's just jump right in and get started. So Freewell Gear sent me these for evaluation. There are going to be many people getting a Mavic Mini this holiday season. Maybe it's going to be your first drone. Now I just want to mention that if you did get a Mavic Mini for the holiday season and it's your first drone, I wouldn't worry so much about ND filters. You can get some really beautiful content from the Mavic Mini just right out of the box without messing around with ND filters. Now with that said, ND filters can really enhance your drone footage, so we're going to talk about why and when you would want to use them. Now I'm just going to start at the beginning here and explain what ND filters are for, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who are flying for the very first time and not quite sure why you would use an ND filter. Basically, there's a rule in cinematography called the 180-degree rule, and basically it's to do with your frame rate and shutter speed. In order for video footage to look really nice to the eye, you want to have a little bit of motion blur in it. It kind of mimics what the eye naturally sees, and the problem with modern day cameras with fixed apertures is that in order to get the proper exposure, sometimes they have the shutter speed up really high. That can make your footage look really jittery and not very pleasant to watch. So that's where the 180-degree rule comes in. So basically, if you're filming and you've got your frame rate set at 30 frames per second, you want your shutter speed to be double that. Now the problem is if you try to follow that rule and you set the shutter speed that low, a lot of light's going to get in and hit the sensor. That's going to make your video very overexposed and blown out. And that's where ND filters come in. If you look at them, it's basically a dark piece of glass, and all they really do is act as a pair of sunglasses, limiting the amount of light that can enter the sensor. That allows you to then set your shutter speed to the appropriate level. And usually in most ND filter sets, you always have a couple different values. For example, we have an ND4, an ND8, and an ND16. And you would use the appropriate one depending on the day. For example, I was out flying this morning and it was fairly overcast. It was still kind of bright, but I knew a 4 would be more than enough. On a medium brightness day, you might use the ND8, and on a very bright day, you might use the ND16. Now, in this particular set from Freewell Gear, we actually have quite a few filters. We have our straight up ND filters, which is, like I stated, is an ND4, ND8, and ND16. This one here is a polarizer, and basically a polarizer is used to get rid of reflections off of shiny surfaces, such as water. When you get rid of the reflections, it helps bring out the saturation in the picture, and it can really enhance your videos. Now these bottom filters here are basically ND filters, but they also have a polarizer built into them. So that way you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting your ND filter and a polarizer. And they go from ND8, ND16, ND32, and ND64. So with a set like this, you're covered under all lighting conditions. Now one thing you do have to keep in mind with the Mavic Mini is we can't go in and manually set our shutter speed. For some reason, DJI doesn't allow that. Now, most people are hoping that that does come with a firmware update. So with that said, you can't go in and physically set the shutter speed to follow the 180-degree rule. However, you can still use these ND filters. When you put one on and you power the drone on, the drone's going to automatically compensate. It's going to lower the shutter speed automatically. Now, it may not be exactly the 180-degree rule where the shutter speed is at double of the frame rate, but it will be pretty close and still allow you to get some motion blur in your shots. Now, installation of these ND filters are very simple. You can see there at the back of the gimbal, I don't know if you can pick that up there with the lighting, but there's a little bit of a vent at the back there. And when you pop the ND filters on, those little hooks there at the back just kind of slide into those vents. So you just lay it over top and just pop it in just like that. Now before you do go out and fly, just double check to make sure that they are seated properly. You don't want to lose your ND filter while you're up in the air. Your drone no longer weighs 249 grams. And that could be true. I'm going to weigh it here in a minute. The thing you have to remember is not everybody is buying this drone because it's 249 grams. Now that is very important to a lot of people, especially in countries like here in Canada. At 249 grams, you don't have to go get a drone pilot license. But a lot of people are buying this drone just because it is so small and light and it's easy to travel with. So let's go ahead and weigh the drone with an ND filter installed and see how much it adjusts the weight. So you can see there, it's sitting around 250 grams. Let's try that again. So you can see there it did add a little bit of weight. Now really, I don't know if these even weigh a gram each, so there's a good chance that even with this ND filter installed, you're still going to be under the weight limit. Now just as a reference here, you can see when I put that filter on, it doesn't even register. So I'm pretty sure these are under a gram a piece. So that's a call that you'll have to make yourself. Now before I go here, let's take a quick look at some footage shot on the Mavic Mini with an ND4. It was kind of overcast out, so it wasn't all that bright out, so an ND4 was more than sufficient. So let's go ahead and we'll take a look at the footage. Well folks, that's basically it for my video. Thanks a lot for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you found it enjoyable and got some value out of it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.